Hey, welcome to a special Healthy Living Resources program in which we're going to be talking about some things that are not only interesting in today's world, but in the future months coming up. With me is co-host Duane Rigsby. Duane and I are going to be talking with Amy Meehan. Amy is a Healthy People Program Specialist, and with Amanda, who's a Healthy Finance Program Specialist. Both of them have been very actively involved with our different programs, et cetera. So, Duane, I'm looking forward to this program.
Absolutely, Patrick. Amy and Amanda, thank you for joining us, as it is actually technically your show when we are back in the studios. But we're doing things a little different today just because of the current crisis going on in the country. But we want to highlight some videos, short clips that we have recorded previously that we think are relevant today. And some of the things are ways to keep you healthy and happy overall, and making changes to improve your mood. Different light sceneries in your house, things like that. Amy and Amanda, can you elaborate just a little bit on this before we go see this short clip?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for having us, Patrick and Duane. So like you were saying, just little tips and tricks about keeping happy and healthy, especially during this kind of unprecedented time when you really have to get creative with what that looks like for you. So in the short clip, we kind of talked about more kind of New Year's style resolutions, how to stay happy and healthy, sort of things that are really applicable at this time. So making small changes to improve your overall mood, just little things that can really help on a day-to-day basis, especially at this time. Trying to keep a routine for yourself, lighting your favorite scented candle to set the mood for the house, to get you ready for your workday, keeping kind of a open and clean environment. I know that's been a big one for me and kind of a popular thing, I think, at this time, that because we're at home all the time right now, having that clean, open space is really important. So this is a great time to maybe think about decluttering, donating those items that you haven't looked at in years or might not use for a while, and just little things like making your coffee in the morning the way you specifically want it. You know, maybe now might be the time, if you have the funds available, to get that coffee maker you've been wanting to get for a while since you can't go to the coffee shop anymore, or some specifically flavored coffee syrups that you really like. Just those little things that would really help improve your overall day during this time. Amanda, do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So these videos were kind of created in a pre-pandemic world, right? And they were all really applicable at that time. And it's just interesting to see how they continue to be just as applicable in an entirely different way now, right? So like keeping a clean environment, because we're all at home and we have to stay here. So really good advice always, but like really solid and helpful advice now. So it's really nice to see how a lot of the stuff can be really helpful really anytime, at any time, but especially now. I think they're tips and tricks that I think are gonna make this whole process a lot easier for all of us moving forward.
And I don't know about you, but I've definitely been trying to get outside more too, since the weather's been getting nicer. Yeah. So I also want to put a little plug in for Walk with a Doc, which is one of our partner programs with our Dining with Diabetes, diabetes management curriculum, which is also online. So if you have any interest in trying that out, now would be a great time. It's totally free. The link will be included. But Walk with a Doc is doing virtual walks. And so doctors from all over the world are leading walks every Saturday morning, and they're recording their talks, and then they're encouraging wherever you are to go out and get a couple steps in, take a picture. You can share it on their Facebook page, or just do it for yourself to get some fresh air and those little extra steps. I know I've been trying to get outside every day with my dog.
Me too.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a look at the video and see some of the highlights that you have.
We're going to talk about a resolution that focuses on you, how to keep yourself happy and healthy overall. Most resolutions can feel a little overwhelming or lofty to stick to long term. So what about making smaller changes to improve your mood and well-being? Since the seasonal affective disorder is common this time of year, especially in Ohio where we're susceptible to lots of snow and sub-zero temperatures, this dark and cold environment makes it tougher to stay motivated and active. I fell victim to this when I first moved here from Texas, where seasonal affective disorder definitely is not as common. We stay a lot warmer and a lot sunnier all year round. I started by trying big things, like working out daily, but that was definitely tough to stay on top of, especially at the start, and it didn't quite make me feel a lot better during this time of year. So I began to try new things, little things, to make my home and work environments more inviting and productive, like lighting a nice scented candle or utilizing my electric fireplace to feel warm and cozy. There are lots of other ideas in which you can focus on yourself, just little changes here and there. So let me give you a couple quick examples. First, having a clean and open environment has also helped me to feel a lot better by decluttering, getting rid of any extra little things around the house that were just taking up space but never used. It's better to donate those items to people who would be able to use them, so if you are going to declutter, think about that. I also love starting off my morning with a latte at home, which leads me to my next example of a little change that I made around the house. I will say an espresso maker was a worthwhile splurge that has made both myself and my husband feel more productive and ready to go when we smell that coffee and add some fun syrups to it. By the way, this is also a much cheaper habit than going to a coffee shop every day. So find little things that make you happy, from keeping a succulent at your desk to setting your coffee maker the night before to brew your favorite coffee. For you, as you're waking up and getting ready, having that coffee smell fill the house is a great way to help wake up naturally. And these little steps truly do add up in a big way to help you through this time of year that will hopefully lead you to making and keeping even bigger, more long-term goals and resolutions like we've discussed in our other spots.
Well, that was an interesting video.
Yeah, I really like remembering how we talked about that small steps can be really rewarding. And I think that's so important to think about right now, that while there's this idea that this is a great time to be more productive or more whatever, that there shouldn't be any pressure on this time. You should be using this time how you see fit, and whatever way you're feeling, whichever day, listen to that and do that as best as you can. I think that's going to be the best way to get through this as happy and healthy as you possibly can.
Yeah, and I think that's for everything. In looking at the next clip, finances are always a problem with individuals that are having families that are growing and things of that nature. And, sometimes we just don't have enough cash.
Yep, 100%. So emergency fund has been something that I've been a huge proponent of for a lot of years. And so our viewers will probably know and be familiar with that. I've talked about this a handful of occasions when we get together for healthy living resources. So the next clip, it talks about the importance of building an emergency fund. And it is a really important thing for people to do. And especially at a time like now, it would have been really beneficial to have some money set aside, right? We always talk about financial emergencies, and we've never really meant global pandemics before. We usually mean a car breaking down or, you needing house repair or something like that. But this certainly qualifies as a financial emergency. And I think it highlights the fact that a lot of us, so many Americans are having an interruption in their income. They're losing their jobs as a result of this. So now more than ever, even if that emergency fund didn't exist, really focusing on the importance of working to build that so it exists for you moving forward. Even as things start to, as time progresses, more and more employees are going to be furloughed, more and more families are going to continue to face financial hardship. So starting now, even if it hadn't happened before, you'll see some of the steps that you can take in the video. And I think it's important to think about this long-term as well. Even when we're past this really kind of crazy, unprecedented time, this is still going to be important because eventually, you are going to have your car break down or something like that. And then this is just as important in those instances as well.
Well, let's take a look at the video.
Research shows that low-income families with at least $500 in an emergency fund were better off financially than moderate-income families with less than this amount. Yet most Americans don't have enough savings to cover an unexpected emergency. An emergency savings fund consists of at least $500, usually in a savings account that you do not have easy access to. Saving for this fund starts with small, regularly scheduled automatic contributions that will build up over time. Maintaining an emergency savings account may be the most important difference between those who manage to stay afloat and those who sink into debt. It also gives you peace of mind knowing that you can afford to pay unexpected expenses. The best way to start an emergency fund is small and automatically. Automatically delegate a portion of each paycheck to be deposited into an emergency account. By starting even with $20 a month, your emergency savings will slowly build, and you'll be more likely to have that cushion to withstand a financial emergency. Set aside some windfall income, such as your tax refund, into an emergency account. Even by saving just a portion of your tax refund into your emergency savings, you'll be setting yourself up to be more financially secure in the face of unexpected expenses.
Here's another good video.
Patrick, I really enjoyed the video, and especially about the $500 having as an emergency fund. My question to Amy and Amanda is, about that $500, should a person have that cash in hand, and or should a person have that in such a gift card or something like that?
Right. That's a great question. And I think interesting now and moving forward, right? So in an emergency fund, one of the big things to keep in mind is that you want that money to be liquid. You want to be able to access it when you need it. So in the event of an emergency, you want quick and easy access to it. So for a lot of people, that would look like just a secondary savings account, even a second checking account. Cash is fine if you're somebody that can save cash. Although in this current pandemic, cash really isn't king, right? Like, you're not encouraged to be accepting or using cash just for hygiene purposes. So really any way that allows you to easily access that money when you need it and spend it where you'll need to, whatever that looks like for individuals might vary. Some people would prefer to have that money in a second checking, in a savings account. Anything that's really easy to access is going to be the most appropriate vehicle for an emergency savings. A cash card or something like that might make sense. It just might vary how and where you can spend that. The same with a gift card as well. But I think it just kind of depends on the need and the family that's kind of accessing it. So I would say there's no right or wrong for our current times. Probably not cash. If you have that cash, there might be ways for you to get around that. There are banks still operating as essential businesses, so you could always try to get around that way. But the takeaway for sure is liquidity there, making sure that when you need it, you have it.
That's great. Amy, anything to add on that, especially in the food world? When you do have some pandemic or something going on with that cash, is there anything that we should specifically save food-wise?
Well, I think just knowing, kind of what your typical grocery budget looks like. The thing right now, it seems to be, as people are stocking up, but not everybody might have the means to do so. So understanding kind of what your options are, and definitely that grocery stores are really trying to adapt to their clientele. So most grocery stores, if not all of them by this point, have pickup options where you don't have to go into the grocery store and it does not cost anything extra. So you can go and do a no-touch, no-contact pickup after you place your order online. So you don't even have to risk going into the grocery store if that's something you're uncomfortable with. And in fact, we're working on some resources right now through Extension, guides to walk you through exactly what that process looks like, to make it a little easier, because sometimes navigating the specific grocery store websites can be a little bit difficult. And a lot of grocery stores do accept SNAP EBT benefits, even for pickup options. So definitely don't worry about that. There are absolutely ways to get your groceries safely and within your budget.
You know, it's interesting. You have a clip, meal prepping and planning. If you're like me on weekends, it seems that I only eat one meal, and that starts at 9 o'clock and ends at 10. Meal prepping and planning, I think, is extremely important. So let's take a look at your video on that.
Meal prepping is a way to prepare convenience foods at home. You can do all of your cooking one day at the start of the week, and then just portion your food into reusable storage containers for an easy, healthy meal on the go. So how would you go about this? You would start by planning a menu for the week. Have all of your meals and snacks predetermined before even going to the grocery store. In order to keep a budget in mind, I would recommend looking at grocery store ads and coupons to see what foods are on sale or in season to take advantage of and build your menu around those items. There are lots of tips and tricks that can go along with meal prepping to make it easier, and I do this all the time, so here's some that I would recommend. It would be important to consider ingredients that can pull double duty when planning your meals and making your shopping list. For instance, oats, one of my favorite foods to incorporate into my meal prepping plan, can be put into muffins, smoothies, and overnight oatmeal bowls for a variety of breakfast options without requiring a whole host of different ingredients. Another tip to add variety into your week without extra work would be freezing portions of meals from previous weeks to add into future rotations. This would also allow for less spending and prepping in future weeks and cut down on time as you continue in your meal prepping journey. It would also be worth investing in a nice, durable set of storage containers. Some plastic that would be appropriate for freezing. A lot of times they will say that in the grocery store, so make sure to check for the right label. And some glass that might be safer or more durable for microwaving and reheating.
That was an interesting video. Learned a few things, and I think that video really demonstrates the need to plan.
Yep, absolutely. As far as that goes, I feel like while meal prepping is great all year round, especially when trying to eat healthy and on a budget, it's especially important now, like I mentioned previously, as people are considering either stocking up for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, or even if you are going to the grocery every week, you might not be able to get exactly what you want right now, since certain items are not as available as they once were. So having that kind of meal plan and prepping guide ready for your family and being able to be creative with it and adapt to what might be available, what might be in season, what might be on sale. Check your local grocery stores for the different coupons that they might have. They list them online in their app. There are plenty of ways to check that out. Every store still has a weekly ad with specials. You don't even need a loyalty card to get those deals. There are lots of different options. And I would encourage you to check out Live Smart Ohio. There have been a couple really good blog posts up lately about how to still eat healthy on a budget while you're stuck at home and what that kind of looks like if you are stocking up and how to kind of spread those meals out and get creative with your recipes.
Well, food prepping, deals with a lot of planning, and every family that has a growing family or limited income or things of that nature, they're still planning on building financial security. And building financial security is not easy.
Yeah, that's right. So this is important always. And, the previous clip that we talked about touched on one of the things you can do to help build financial security. And there really just are so many different ways that we can focus on making that effort and really just improving where we stand financially in our lives, especially now. And it can seem a little bit daunting currently, but there are so many things that you can do. I mean, one of the ways that you can really address your personal or family financial security would be to really increase your financial literacy, really increase your understanding of where you stand, what steps you need to take, really what it takes to have a financially secure future ahead of you, working to create a budget, which we recommend that we always kind of reassess our budgets. Now would be a perfect time for many Americans, individuals or family, to reassess their budget in the coming months. So there are definitely a lot of steps that we can take, especially now when we are home and we're spending a lot of time kind of wondering how we fill this time. I would encourage people to really kind of seek out that financial outreach and that financial engagement education part. So one of the resources that I wanted to kind of introduce today was the financial resource guide that we've created here at OSU Extension for family and consumer sciences. Our educators created this guide. And it's really helpful for a lot of different things. If you're somebody who's struggling to understand how you're going to make mortgage payments or how you're going to kind of just continue to cope, there are a ton of resources there. So I'd recommend you check it out. But one of them, specifically for building financial security, is Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has a resource that we've copied there for you, and really you can engage in better understanding where you are, where you and your family are financially, steps you can take to not only just withstand this current pandemic, but really how you can continue to thrive afterwards as well.
I think that's very, very important. You know, during and throughout the year, we have windfalls. We have monies that come in, whether it's at tax time or maybe something happens where we get extra amount of money, etc. And you know, we have a video that's saving during tax time, but Amanda and Amy, you know, we should be also planning on what we should do with that money on the windfalls that we get, don't you think?
100%. So this video obviously focuses on the importance of saving during tax time and different ways that you can do that. But like you said, really it kind of applies, like there are things in this video that our viewers will see obviously that are just tax time related. So using that 8888 form to split your income or your refund, great way to start saving. But a lot of the other approaches to this should and could be taken with any real windfall. And one that a lot of Americans are going to see coming up is the CARES Act stimulus rebate that a lot of Americans are getting, right? So we're getting this money and a lot of people are going to be questioning, what's the best way for me to go about really putting this money to work for us? And so a lot of the things in here could have a lot to do with both. I will say though, for the stimulus income, the importance of prioritizing is going to be key, right? So a lot of times with the tax refund, it's prioritizing where your needs are, and that paying down your debt could look like saving as well. But for a lot of American families and individuals right now, that's going to look like, where is that money needed the most, right? So what are your needs? Do you have the food that you need? Do you have all of your bills and stuff covered that you're going to need to have covered that you couldn't possibly find some kind of assistance for otherwise, and medication? So really putting that money to best use where you're going to need it to work for you the most, and taking a look at the resource guide that I mentioned previously and seeing if you're somebody who's going to be struggling to pay that mortgage, what sort of assistance you qualify for, what's available to you. If you're somebody that's going to struggle to pay certain bills, what sort of assistance is available. A lot of places are really working to help families who are going to face those issues in the coming weeks and months. So making sure that stuff is all in place and then prioritizing where the rest of that money could best be spent, for sure. And one more plug before we jump into the video is that the Healthy Finances team created an effort to really kind of help Ohioans make these decisions. So we have a Q&A effort that we have rolled out in response to this pandemic, but that will continue to exist afterwards. And what this allows people to do is anonymously ask a question, provide a little bit of background, let us know why you're asking the question or where exactly, more details to help us better answer it. And then our extension educators across the state and other professional FCS folks across the state will answer your question, they'll research it, and they'll reach back out to you personally. So you'll get an email or a call from them, whichever you request, and they'll kind of help walk you through that. So if you're somebody who gets the stimulus income and isn't best sure how to do that, that would be a question that you could plug in to our Q&A survey, and the website, Patrick has the Go link for you guys to get there. But that would be an opportunity for you to say, here's my situation. I need a little bit of help. I need a little bit of guidance as far as helping to understand where my priorities lay now. So just a little plug for that. When you have this income, if people are really unsure, that would be a great opportunity for them to reach out to us and allow us to kind of connect and walk them through that.
Well, let's go ahead and play the video.
We're going to be discussing ways to resolve to save during tax time. So for many Americans, tax time brings around a bit of financial windfall that can be beneficial in various ways. We have a few choices when it comes to how we want to spend this money. So let's take a look at what our options are. First, using the 8888 tax form to split your refund into more than one account is a great way to automatically pledge to save at least a portion of this money. So preferably, one of the accounts you'll be splitting the refund into will be a savings product that will not be easily accessible. So you can have a part of it go into a checking account, but additionally, you want at least a portion of it to go into some sort of savings mechanism that will help you save for the future. Another way that you can save during tax time is by paying off higher interest debt. So you'll be saving money in the long run. And I know that paying off debt or paying on a credit card might not seem initially like a way of saving, but by paying off this interest that you're going to be repaying on the original debt owed, you'll save your money. You'll save yourself money in the long run. If you have money left over after paying down the higher interest debt, you can then begin to consider paying down other balances that have lower interest rates. So this can be your approach to saving money during tax time. If you've paid off your debt, an emergency fund could be a great way to prepare for events that are unplanned, such as illness, loss of job, or other unavoidable financial strain. So saving this money, we recommend around $500 to start in an emergency fund, will really help prepare you for any unexpected financial burden in the future. Lastly, I would suggest, if you haven't already, or additional to retirement that you might have with work, you can use some of your tax refund to open or add to an IRA or invest in your retirement. So by choosing to save at least a portion of your tax refund to an IRA, you'll be helping set yourself up for financial security during retirement. And as we know, saving for retirement may be one of the most difficult savings challenges faced by many Americans.
That was a great video on saving during tax time, Amanda. Is there anything else that you can give us a little highlight on about paying off maybe high interest cards, or beginning a lower interest rate if you are able to do that in these times that we're suffering from right now?
Great. So if that's an option that people have currently, that would be a great way for them to use this money if all of their other priorities are met, that would help them save money in the long run. So that's definitely always a recommendation that we make when it comes to best putting the windfall money that we get in the form of a tax return, or really any money, is really focusing on that high interest debt that is going to end up costing you so much more in the long run. So that would definitely be my recommendation after getting those needs met, how else you can get that money to work for you and really kind of help ease that burden moving forward.
Great. I think before we end, there is a couple of blogs and a couple of posts that are things that you guys created here recently. I would like to go ahead and highlight those real quick for everyone to see. Amy, you've got a blog and stuff. Where can we find all that at?
Definitely. So the blogs I specifically mentioned are on Live Smart Ohio, related to kind of meal prepping, planning, stocking up, eating healthy on a budget, that kind of thing. But also on Live Healthy, Live Well, our team there has been putting up a bunch of really great blog content, specifically related to managing during this unprecedented time from a bunch of different perspectives. So I would encourage you to check those out as well.
And Amanda, you created just a new thing. Where can we find that at? And any blog that you want to highlight real quick?
Yep. So I would tell our viewers to 100% check out Live Smart Ohio. That is one of the blogs that Amy mentioned, and we have educators across the state working to kind of put out some really timely content that kind of addresses where a lot of us are at right now and that can help. The other one is the resource guide that I mentioned, the Healthy Finances Resource Guide. And there's a link to that. It's a little bit long, otherwise I'd read it out, but that's where you're going to go. And the nice thing about that resource is that we are really trying to update it in real time. So as supports and different things become available, we will highlight them there and kind of change them. And really on the FCS website in general, we have a COVID-19 section where it's not just the healthy finances section. There are really resource guides that are also health and wellness. There's some that focus on relationships too. We've done a pretty good job of collecting a lot of really good resources in that section, so I'll highlight that link as well. The last one is the go.osu.edu/financial, I believe it's financial assistance, and that's the Q&A effort that I mentioned during the episode. So if anybody had a financial question at all during this, related to this or not, that would be a great opportunity for them to reach out to us directly, and that we would be able to respond.
We appreciate you guys for doing all this for us, and remember, you can see all the links below. So until next time, we'll see everyone next month.